Okay, so I'm going to do a quick front nose assembly cleaning on a Proset XT2. Note that this is the same procedure whether you're using an XT1, 2, 3, or 4. All this can be done without tools, except you'll need a wire brush and a magnifying loupe, and a flashlight would be good. But for the most part, you should be able to do everything with a rag once we get everything disassembled. So first you unscrew the nose assembly, or the nose casing, excuse me. Take it off, remove the jaw guide, which is where your jaws are housed at. You can pop your jaws out. Then remove the jaw pusher spring, and mandrel guide if you're setting rivets that require one. So that's all your parts. And this is where most of the dirt and debris gets in the tool. So this needs to be done at least every 5,000 cycles. More often if you have a maintenance program that would allow you to do so. So you just want to make sure that all this is cleaned off. All this you want to clean off with a rag. Don't use any solvents or anything. So you want to clean out the jaw guide, get any kind of debris out of it that might be inside of it. And like I said, you can do this with a rag. Then you can look down in it, make sure the bore's not scuffed up, and make sure the front end is not getting oblonged because of the jaws riding in and out. This one looks good. Just examine your other parts. This mandrel guide's fine. If it was bent or scratched up really bad, you'd want to replace it. Your jaw pusher spring, I tell people all the time to stock a lot of these. These and jaws. You always want to check this spring because over time it can get compressed or get bent, and then you won't get the proper amount of pressure on the jaws coming up on the back side of the nose piece, and you'll get improper sets when you're setting your rivets. The best way to make sure it's long enough is to have a new one that you just put it up beside of, and if it's compressed a lot, you want to replace it. This one's good. Your jaw pusher, you just want to make sure that it's not getting too worn, and you'll be able to see because it'll start getting really shiny, the more it gets worn. So this one's good. Your nose casing, very important. A lot of debris will get down inside, down in the front around the nose tip. So you want to shine your flashlight down in and see what kind of debris is in there. Sometimes you'll have to use a screwdriver and actually scrape it out a little bit. But if there's not much in there, you just want to kind of push your rag up inside of it and just turn it round and round and round until it gets everything clean on the inside. Again, look down in and make sure it's clean. Because what happens is when your jaws come forward, they ride up on the back end of the nose tip and open up. That allows your rivet mandrel to go down inside. When you cycle the tool, they come back, and then the spring pressure makes them collapse down, grab your rivet mandrel and pull the rivet. So make sure that's good and clean. And then probably the most critical part of all of it, you want to get your jaws. You want to make sure they're good and clean. Over time these will get really, really dirty, and so you want to clean them off good. A lot of times you'll get debris down in the tooth surface. I just take a wire brush and kind of get all the debris out of the tooth surface of the jaw. The other thing you want to do is make sure that there aren't any chips or wear marks on them, and that's why I say it's good to have a magnifying loop so that you can look, because a lot of times you can't see it with your bare eye, but you'll put a loop on it and you'll see all kinds of gouges and cracks in them. So another thing is when a jaw is new, it has a visual dull finish to it. It's not shiny. The more worn the jaws get, the more they'll shine. So you can tell if they're getting dull. Also, according to the size rivet you're placing, if you're setting a lot of 1/8 rivets with this particular tool, sometimes it can wear a valley in your jaw surface, and you'll see that on all three jaws, or both jaws if it's a two jaw system. So you want to make sure, again, with a cloth, to clean everything down, and then you want to reassemble your front end. So put your mandrel guide in, your spring, jaw pusher goes on the end of the spring, and then we want to put our jaws back in. Very important, there needs to be lubrication on the back of these jaws. If not, they'll wear your jaw guide, they'll wear the back of the jaws, they'll stick when you're trying to set rivets. So we suggest using a moly lithium grease. It's a black grease, it's very sticky. The best way to do this, some people will coat the back of the jaws, because you don't want it on the jaw surface, because it'll lubricate them, and then they'll slide on your mandrel, and it actually wears your jaws out faster. So you just want it on the back side. Some people will paint grease on the back. The easiest way is to take a Q-tip, get a good amount of grease on it, stick it down in the bore of the jaw guide, and just coat the inside of it good. Then drop each jaw down inside. You can make sure they're slid down in there properly. This time you can kind of look at the end and make sure that you don't have an oblong jaw guide that you might need to replace. So this looks good. You screw it back on the front of the tool. Screw it all the way down, then let go of this spring catch and turn it back until it snaps in place. Then screw your nose housing back on. If this was an XT3 or an XT4, there would be a neoprene O-ring, a green O-ring. Around here, you would want to lubricate that with some white lithium grease, because it rides against the inside of the nose housing. So this one doesn't have that. So you want to screw it down. So you've got it back together now. We'll hook it up to the air and make sure that it's testing correctly. So it's pulling the rivets correctly. Another way to check your jaws is always keep just some plain open end pop rivets just for testing after you clean. And they have a smooth mandrel, so you can see where the jaws are biting. And I don't know if you can see this in the camera, but there are nice clean jaw marks on this. If the jaws were worn out, you would get like slide marks, or you could just tell it's not gripping correctly. So we've got a good grip here. This tool is serviced and ready to go back into action. This seems like a very simple thing to do, but I promise you, if this is done in every 5,000 cycles or less, you'll be amazed at how much longer your jaws will last and how much more tool life you will get out of the XT series tools.